morning, students. Today we will talk about the refraction at spherical surfaces. Spherical surfaces and lenses. This is a sphere. This is a part of a sphere. Suppose two spheres we cut in this way, and this is the part of a sphere that acts as a refracting surface. When we cut in this way, it becomes biconvex. If two spheres are in this way, we cut in this way, it becomes biconcave. So this is biconvex, this is biconcave. And if you are having, this is one is the surface, and we cut in this way. This is plano-concave. If this was the surface I cut in this way, this is plano-convex. If earlier it was in this way, we cut in this way, it becomes plano-concave, this becomes plano-convex. And if this is the surface, this and this is the surface. This is called convexo-concave. And this is called concavo-convex. So these types of surfaces we are studying in this chapter. And today I will talk about, this is a refracting surface. It's X. That's maybe P1 and Y, and X P2Y. It's a part, this X P1Y is a part of this sphere, and X P2Y is a part of this sphere. This X P2Y is known as refracting surface. It's form a part of refracting sphere of a transparent medium is called spherical refracting surface, and center of this is called the pole. And the center of a sphere of which this reflecting surface is a part, that is called, this is called center of curvature. This is called center of curvature. And the line passes through the center and pole. This line is known as principal axis. This is known as principal axis. We can have two types of surfaces. One is concave refracting surface, another is convex refracting surface. First, I will talk about new Cartesian sign conventions. New Cartesian sign conventions. New Cartesian sign conventions. This is biconvex refracting surface I am considering. This is x p1y, p2y, and this portion is p. And this is the principal axis that's passing through the lens, and this is the focus, and this is a center. Similarly, this part is having a one focus on this side, and this is the center C2. Any object lying above the principal axis, if I am taking this is an object taking above the principal axis, its height is taken to be positive. Any image formed on the lower side of principal axis, its height is taken to be negative. Any ray that's coming from if object is this one, ray is coming toward this side. Any distance in the direction of incident ray toward this side, in the direction of incident ray, it is taken to be positive. Opposite to the direction of incident ray, opposite to the direction of incident ray, negative. So distance of object from the pole is said to be u, and distance of image from the pole, that is said to be v, and distance of focus from the pole is noted as f, and distance of center of curvature from the pole is noted as r. For biconvex lens, this side distances are taken to be positive, so biconvex lens focal length is positive. If I consider this biconcave lens, this is biconcave lens, this is the principal axis that's passing through it, and this is a focus, and this is center of curvature, and here is, I am taking the object, a ray is going parallel to it, principal axis, and it is a diverging lens, and ray seems to be passing through this focus. And so this focus is negative. So this ray is diverging. So this lens is diverging lens. This is diverging lens. We have to keep this thing in mind in this case. If I took this one as this prism, this lens, this is biconvex, this is the principal axis that's passing through the pole, or you can say optical center. This is center of curvature, this is the focal length, and over this side this is the focal length, and this is the center of curvature. an object is lying away from the center of curvature, any ray that's going parallel to the principal axis, it will pass from the focus. Number one. Any ray which is passing from the pole, it will not bend. So, the image formed by it is at this point. The image formed by it is in between center of curvature and focus. So, this focal length is on this side, so this is taken to be positive. But this focal length was, in earlier case I have taken the example of a focal length of a concave lens, it was negative. Concave lens and convex lens, there are differences. Radius of curvature for concave as well as convex. If you see concave and convex, I am taking, this is biconvex, this is biconcave. Here if you see, the focal length is taken to be positive, the radius of curvature is taken to be positive, and here the focal length is negative and radius of curvature is taken to be negative. And third thing in this case is, this is forming real as well as virtual images. So its image is inverted as well as erect one. But this is only forming virtual images. Its image is always erect one. It's not forming the real image. So concave lens, this was concave lens and this was convex lens. So concave lens is having these conditions, and convex lens is having three, and concave is having these three. And in this case, when the virtual image is formed, its magnification is always greater than 1. Here when the virtual image is formed, its magnification is always less than 1. So this is the difference in the virtual image formed by the both. One is forming the virtual image having a magnified image, one is forming the diminished image. So this we call magnified image and this we call diminished image. So this will be the difference between the two. First, I will consider the biconvex lens, then I will consider the biconcave lens. Here we are having we have to derive the formulas for refraction at a spherical surface. First formula which will drive refraction at a spherical surface, we will have to take some assumptions. What are these assumptions? If we have to do the refraction at spherical surface. So simplify the phenomena of refraction at spherical surfaces, we follow some assumptions. What are the assumptions? Assumptions we follow to form the formula for refracting at a refraction at spherical surface. Refraction at spherical surface. And in this case, we have to consider whether the object is in rarer medium or in denser medium. First of all, I was talking about the assumptions we have to take when we have to talk about the refraction at the spherical surface. What are these assumptions? First is object is considered to be a point object. Object is considered to be the point object. Object is not considered to be the bigger one. We considered it to be the point object. That's lying on the principal axis. That's lying on the principal axis of spherical refracting surface. Second, the angle made by the and aperture means of second assumption we will take the aperture of spherical refracting surface is very small. So distance of any point object from the surface is almost equal to the distance of point object from the pole of the surface. So means we will think that aperture of refracting surface is small. Second, thirdly, the angle of incidence and refraction are small. Third, angle of incidence and refraction, they are small. These three assumptions we have to take into account when we have to write the formula for refraction at spherical surface. Now I will consider the object is in rarer medium. And this is convex refracting surface. And this is a principal axis that's passing through it. This is a focus and this is center of curvature. Object is in rarer medium, this is an object. And it's striking on this surface. Any line we draw from the center, it will become the normal. This will be a normal. And now this ray will bend when it is going from rarer to denser. This is rarer, this is denser. It's having the refractive index mu1, it's having the refractive index mu2. Any ray that's going in that's medium, that will bend towards the normal. The angle, if we draw a perpendicular from here, this was a pole, this is M, and this is O, that's A, and this was P. This angle made by it is alpha, made by this is beta, made by this is gamma. We took three assumptions that alpha, beta, gamma angle made by them are very small. They are small. Here in this case, we have considered that the object is lying at O. The incident ray is going along OA. This CN1 is a normal we have drawn. This ray will bend towards the normal along AB. The alpha is the angle made by the object. That's incident ray. Beta is the angle made by the refracting ray. And gamma is the angle made by the normal. We have drawn the perpendicular from A, that's M. That's leading at or a principal axis at M. This is AM is the perpendicular here. And if we see AOM, angle AOM is equal to alpha, and angle ABM is equal to beta, and angle ACM is equal to gamma. Here, if I taken into account, that's mu1 into sine I is equal to mu2 into sine R. This angle is very small, so you can take it as a mu1 into I and mu2 into R. So here the angle I is this one and angle R is this one. If I took a triangle, first I took a triangle OAC. The I is the outer angle in this triangle. So if I is the outer angle in case of triangle, outer angle is equal to sum of two inner angles, sum of two opposite inner angles. So this means I is equal to alpha plus gamma. Similarly, now I will take the triangle BAC. Here R plus beta. These are the two inner angles and gamma is the outer angle. So it's equal to gamma. So here R becomes equal to gamma minus beta and I is equal to alpha plus gamma. Should I put the values of I and R in this equation? So when I put the equation value, this mu1 into alpha plus gamma is equal to mu2 into gamma minus beta. Now, if I consider these things, I will consider these things. Here, alpha is equal to, because sine and tan becomes equal when the angle is very small. So this is AN upon OM and beta is equal to AN upon MB and gamma is equal to AM upon MC. If I put the values here, mu1 into AM upon OM plus AM upon MB, mu2 AM upon MC minus AM upon MB. see in all the cases, the AM is there. So can we cancel out AM? And the M is very near to P. Instead of M, we can replace it by P, because all the distances we have to measure from the pole. This is the consideration here. So mu1 into 1 upon PO plus 1 upon PB is equal to mu2 1 upon PC minus 1 upon PB. This is the equation which becomes. If we have to consider this is the equation it becomes, then what should I do now? Here all the distance has to be made from the pole. Now it comes from the pole. This PO is equal to minus U, because means opposite to the incident ray they are taken to be negative, and in the direction of incident ray they are taken to be positive. Here PB is equal to plus P and PC is equal to plus R. Should I put the values here in this equation? So it becomes mu1 into 1 upon minus U plus 1 upon, that's V, is equal to mu2 1 upon, that's R, minus 1 upon, this was PC earlier. This was R. This was plus V. So, can I solve it now? So minus mu1 upon U plus mu1 upon R, mu2 upon R minus mu2 upon V. So this taken to be on this side. So it becomes, this equation becomes minus mu1 upon U plus mu2 upon V, mu2 minus mu1 upon R. So what's the formula becomes? This formula becomes refractive index of object upon distance of object and sign is minus plus refractive index of image upon distance of image is equal to refractive index of image minus refractive index of object upon radius of curvature. So in this way you can derive the formula. Here in this chapter we have to derive the formulas like this. First we have taken now the object was in rare medium. In next video I will take the object is in rare medium, the image formed was in denser. Now I will take in next video object is in denser medium, image was in Rera. Thanks. Have a nice day.